Have you ever heard of the Louisiana Cajun Werewolf? Listen close and you will. Please, don't forget to subscribe. It makes all the difference. Now, this is the story of what happened in Confronting, what they don't want you to know, what they tried to bury beneath the mud and cypress roots of the Louisiana bayou. Confronting, Louisiana, a place that looks peaceful on the surface. Spanish moss hangs heavy, the air is thick with humidity, and the water lies still and dark. But beneath that quiet surface, something ancient stirs. A tension you can feel in the air, a silence that feels wrong. It started subtly, whispers in the general store, worried glances across the street. Then, the news reports began. They spoke of missing persons, people who simply vanished from their homes or didn't return from fishing trips. Then came the reports of the animals, livestock torn apart, wild creatures found mangled in ways that defied explanation. Something was hunting in the swamps around Confronting. The local authorities were quick to respond. The sheriff appeared on the news, his face grim but reassuring. He spoke of alligators, large, aggressive gators he claimed were responsible for the disappearances and the gruesome remains. It was a tragedy, but a natural one. They downplayed everything, minimized the number of missing, dismissed the strange nature of the attacks. It was clear they wanted the public to believe a simple, albeit terrifying, explanation. But the story didn't fit. Locals knew the bayou, knew the gators. This felt different, older, far more malicious. This wasn't just a natural disaster. This was a cover-up, a deliberate attempt to hide a truth too terrifying for the outside world, or perhaps even for themselves, to comprehend. A few young people in town felt it most acutely. They grew up on the edge of the bayou, heard the old stories. They knew the official explanation was a lie. They were just kids, really, but the fear and the unanswered questions drew them together. They started talking, comparing notes, sharing the unsettling things they'd seen and heard. At first, they were skeptical. Maybe the sheriff was right. Maybe it was just a big gator or a pack of wild dogs. Anything but the things the old folks whispered about. But then more people disappeared. A fisherman, a hunter, a family camping near the water's edge. The disappearances weren't stopping. They were accelerating. And the evidence mounted, not just mangled bodies, but prints that weren't reptilian. Deep, gouging claw marks on trees, too high for any known animal. And the sounds. At night, when the bayou was at its darkest, they heard it. Howls that weren't coyotes, sounds that sent a primal chill down your spine, echoing from the depths of the swamp. Their fear became a living thing. It gnawed at them, kept them awake at night. They couldn't ignore it anymore. They decided they had to know the truth. If the authorities wouldn't look, they would. They would go into the bayou themselves. Their investigation led them not to police files, but to the oldest residents, the keepers of local lore. They uncovered whispers of an ancient curse, a darkness tied to the land itself. This wasn't just a recent phenomenon. It was a story passed down through generations of Cajun families, a cautionary tale woven into the fabric of their history. They delved into the origins of the legend, tales of men transforming under the moon, of pacts made in desperation, of a creature born of the swamp's own malice. The legend was deeply rooted in Louisiana's harsh past, a history of poverty, isolation, and a constant struggle against the unforgiving environment. Life here was brutal, and sometimes people were pushed to desperate measures. The folklore was a blend of cultures, European werewolf myths twisted and merged with indigenous beliefs about shapeshifters and spirits of the wild. A unique horror born of this specific place. The creature, the rougarou or Cajun werewolf, wasn't just a monster. It was a manifestation of the region's dark legacy, the fear and hardship given terrifying form. It was the bayou striking back. They went into the bayou at night. The air was thick, the darkness absolute, broken only by the beam of their flashlights. Every rustle of leaves, every splash in the water felt like a threat. They were following faint tracks, a trail of broken branches and disturbed mud that the sheriff's men had somehow missed, or perhaps deliberately ignored. The trail led them deeper, into the most isolated part of the swamp. And then they found it. Not a den, but a place of recent carnage. Bones scattered, the stench of decay heavy in the air. They had stumbled upon the creature's lair. That's when the attack began. It was sudden, brutal, a flash of movement in the periphery, a guttural roar that was both animal and horribly human. Chaos erupted, the sounds of struggle, desperate cries. The creature was fast, impossibly strong. They caught glimpses of it, a hulking shape, fur matted with swamp water and something darker, eyes that glowed with malevolent intelligence, teeth and claws meant for tearing flesh. It was a fight for their lives, a desperate, terrifying struggle against something that shouldn't exist, something the authorities said was just a story. What happened next is unclear. The footage recovered is fragmented, chaotic. The fate of the young people who went into the bayou remains uncertain. Only a camera was found later, half buried in the mud near the edge of the swamp. The lens was smeared, dark and sticky. Playing back the last few seconds revealed a distorted image. Darkness, the sound of heavy breathing, and then two glowing eyes appearing out of the blackness. The creature, the rougarou. Then silence. The camera battery died. The official story never changed. The sheriff reiterated his statements about aggressive alligators, about the dangers of the swamp. The disappearances were regrettable but explainable. But those who heard the whispers, who saw the fear in the eyes of the old folks, knew the truth. They knew the cover-up was real, and the monster was too. Some secrets are best left buried in the mud, but sometimes those secrets have teeth and claws. The monsters of history are not always confined to the past.